All right, thank you guys for joining. So today's pretty much just going to be, I know there's some people over from ZM's Discord, so welcome. Um, with that being said, I know there's not a lot of information that you guys know about said data, but we're gonna just do sort of a market review and you'll kind of see how the data changes intraday and basically what those changes entail. So starting off, as you guys can tell, this is in PST, so 6:29 before market opens and market is officially open. Let the data clean up a little bit. Okay, so currently 6:35. Obvious things off the rip. 5,000, right? Those are the most obvious things for today. So that is the main level of interest. So if you look at the chart today, right, 5,000, we deviated, give or take we always recommend, as you guys have heard multiple times, 5 to 10 points plus or minus as the main level. So around here would be a pretty good area in terms of support, 5,005 all the way to 49.95, right? So this zone would be solid for support. And then I believe, if I remember correctly, as I was watching, for those who saw in chat, I was saying when 50-50 or 50-50 is the main target. So as you can already tell, 50-25 is also a level of interest. So that was the main level to start trimming first, right? So you take it from 5,000 to 50-25, 25-point cap on SPX. So as we keep watching, you'll slowly start seeing 50-50 kind of pick up, right? It's already kind of, what is my dog doing? She's like messing around on her bed. And then you can already see 50-50 picking up definitely, right? So these are the two main levels, and the other portion to take into account is, where is Gamma Flip today? I don't think I have it on the chart. Anyways, that's fine. But on both raw and delta adjusted GEX, you can definitely see Gamma Flip was 50-75. Okay, good to know. Because that was the rejection point, right? No, we never even got to 50-75. Okay, so we were just negative GEX throughout the entirety of the day. Okay, thank you, Luke. But continuing, so we always want to make sure to keep watching as these levels kind of change, right? So let's get to a point in which we kind of start running away, right? Because we always talk about making sure we see those changes and how to take advantage of them. So 5,000 is still the biggest level, but 50-25 remains of high interest. So that would be essentially the next target, right? So take longs at 5,000 and then up to 50-25, 50-50 extended target because it is still showing interest. So as we run through this and we start pushing up, 50-25 is still evident. And we haven't even gotten there yet. And we were basing out all day, right? Or all morning. So basically, if you wanted to take a position, this would definitely be an area to do so, right? If you're a breakout trader, sure, then you could have taken it right here. Not a bad entry, but still, in my opinion, we're already at 50-17. So that wouldn't be ideal. Okay, so this is important, right? Okay, right here. As soon as we break out, right? Let's see this candle. Notice 50-25 is bigger already. As we're about to break out too. All right, so keep watching. This is sped up and boom. 50-25 is officially like completely taken over, right? So with that being said, you now know 50-25 is going to be your main target. If we get above 50-25, what is the next target? 50-50, right? So the thing is about the data, obviously for the newer people here, right? Everyone who's been subbed to TradingLink for a long time, they already know how to utilize it. But just as sort of a walkthrough for you guys, essentially what happens is above certain levels, you go to the next one, right? So you treat it similar to levels. So instead of having to chart your levels and have your levels, one of the best things about this is that it gives you the defined range for the day, right? You can see where the market is interested in, right? 50, 5,000 all the way to 50-50. These three are your main ranges for today, right? And then if you look at the chart, where were we? Basically 50-50 from right here all the way to 5,000, right? So it's pretty obvious that this shit kind of tells you exactly the range for the day. There would be occasional situations in which market kind of runs right through those ranges and then doesn't have any pickups above. And with that being said, if it continues to run with no pickups above, like you're seeing here, right, then what happens is you're prone to pulling back to said level, especially if there's no interest in the strikes above, right? And let's mark these levels out just so we have it down. 5,000, 50, 25, and then 50, 50. All right, let's make these all exact. These are going to be your key levels for the day, right? And as soon as look what happens, right? As soon as we break above 50, 25, as I just said, right? What happens? It utilizes it as support. Even right here, we finally got a push above it on the 5-minute candle or on the 5-minute chart, and we start basing right below or right above it, right? So that's just something to take into account. These levels work, and that's kind of the beauty of it, is like you don't need to have levels, or you don't need to mark levels on your chart. And that's why it's helpful. You just have the range for the day. You have defined levels for the day without having to actually do it yourself anymore either. So it simplifies a lot of that aspect for, newer traders. So continuing to watch, the next goal is to see when we get above 50.25, does 50.50 pick up over 50.25? And also for those who don't know, this data, you can watch this timestamp right here. It updates every 10 seconds. So it's relatively quote unquote live data, a live data feed, right? As you can see already, 50.50 is definitely showing some interest. But once we get above 25, that's going to be the main thing to watch out for, right? So this level right here, that's what we're watching out for. Okay, and we're above it. And look what happens. Okay, let's get before the breakout here. 50.50 is definitely picking up. 5,000 is pretty much almost gone. And there you go. Right. As soon as we start pushing above 50.25, look what happens. 50.50 immediately picks up. You now have your next target. Right. So another thing to take into account is why am I not looking at the rest of these? Right. Why am I not looking at all of these and taking them into consideration as of right now? Well, not so much this one. This one's getting an update. But as for these ones like Vana, Speed, we are currently the week after OPEX, right? So within utilizing these exposures, there's a key thing that a huge important thing about it. And that's basically their windows of weakness for said exposures, right? Perfect. Ty, you know exactly why. So what these windows of weakness kind of entail is that Vana and Charm, right? Vana, where's Charm? And Charm, well, Charm isn't working, but these two basically go into their window of weakness the week after OPEX, meaning Gamma is going to be the strongest. So these are one of my favorite weeks to trade because the picture it's so clear in terms of where the market is going to go, right? So for those who are in ZM's Discord, we basically took longs at the bottom, and I said 50.25, and then well, I didn't say 50.25 to you guys. I said 50.25 to Hassan in our company group chat. But and then as soon as we got above there, I was like 50.50 is going to be the next trim, right? Hence why we took next day's contracts just to hold a little bit easier, right? We took them from what 2.0 to basically 4.5. So that being said, paying attention to gamma exposure the week after OPEX is going to be very, very important, right? It's in the sense of it pretty much magnetizes it for the entirety of the day, especially you see 5,000 disappear. You see 50.25 get smaller, right? As we continue to push up, you see 50.50 get bigger, right? So then you know that these it's called absolute delta adjusted gamma exposure, right? So these absolute I guess quote unquote absolute gamma exposures, they act like magnets. So it makes it very, very easy to tell where market is going to go, right? The harder part of it is actually executing on it, right? When do you actually buy? Right. If we're at 50.25 and we start utilizing it as support, it wouldn't be a bad idea to take a trade. Let's say you missed out on this initial run up, right? As soon as we test 50.25, wouldn't be a bad idea to long the retest, right? Because I'm not a breakout trader personally. I don't like taking, why? Because number one, when you get a candle like this, a big green fucking dildo, then what happens is volatility is going to be higher on those contracts. You're pretty much overpaying, in my opinion. You may as well wait for the retest, right here because the contracts will be worth less than they were when they pushed up, right? So just a little trick for options. You never really want to take the breakout trading options because unless you're getting in before said breakout, it's different if you're taking it on the actual breakout because then the options contract will have an increase in IV. So continuing to watch this, right? We finally got above 50-25. 50-50 was where 1.0. Yeah, 50 at the retest of 50-25 and they went to 8. Yeah, so that's perfect, right? That's most of the traders who utilize the data and have been utilizing the data, they understand this. They've been around options for a good amount of time, so they know that it's not the best idea to ever really take an option on a breakout. Number one, you're just prone to losing value on the option. You take it on the retest because they will be much lower, right? I'm sure 50-50s were probably like 1.5, 1.6 on the initial breakout, and then on the retest, they were 1.0. So that's just something to consider when you're actually taking options, right? You don't want to overpay for them because in that sense, like I'm prone to overpaying for options because I buy them like relatively 15 to 30 minutes into the open. But usually I pick contracts that go in the money. For those who don't know, I trade at the money contracts rather than out the money. That's just my personal preference. But yeah, so as you can tell, we broke above 50-50 right here. And then we finally got a retest here, and then we go back over here, right? You could have taken it on this retest. Let's say you missed this one. So there were two opportunities of retesting 50-25 in which you as a trader could have taken advantage of and taken it up to 50-50, right? Because at that point, we're already above 50-25. 50-50 is the obvious target for the rest of the day, right? As soon as we hit 50-50, I don't really care where else the rest of the stock goes, unless, right? Unless we get some form of pickup, let's say 50-75 picked up or some shit, right? Like heavy over 50-50, then that's a different story. But if that's not the case, then I'm not going to look to trade anything afterwards. So continuing watching this, let's mark out 50-25 again so you can see. There's the retest, and 50-50 is still the biggest, right? So that's going to be your magnet for the day. As we continue to push, look at 50-50 or 50-25 completely kind of just shrink off. If it picks up again, right? I'm pretty sure we get that when we get that retest, that'll be the real tell of where the market's going to go. But 50-50 seems pretty obvious. Do you not look at net at all? Personally, no, I stopped looking at net. It's just not necessary. Absolute cam exposure is going to be pretty much your winner, right? So for those who don't know, like remember how we used to call it a divergence of the charts, and the only way to recognize it is if you had both open. You don't need that if you can already tell, right? Number one, this isn't a full divergence, but you can already tell that this is going to be the magnet for the day, right? Maybe right here, right? This one 50-50 on raw, this would definitely be a divergence of some sort. But at the same time, this is known as absolute GEX. You can look it up, absolute GEX, right? We personally have been using absolute D-adjusted GEX because it's less naive. I've made the transition over. Gio has he's changed my mind about using absolute GEX. It's just less noise in it, right? You can tell there's more noise here. There's more noise here. But if you look at this, the less naive version, the more calculated version, there's practically no noise at 5,000. So this could definitely be a bait if you're in shorts and you're like, oh, maybe we have a chance of going there, right? So continuing to watch this forward on the retest of 50-25, here we go, right? 50-25 still held right here. Key important factor. When can you make the assumption that, or the guess of probability of whether or not we're going to bounce or we're going to go higher? 50-25 is obviously key support, right? Biggest bar, or a big wall here, but 5,000 is not. So the odds that we bounce and test and go higher are higher probability than us to break 50-25 and go lower. It doesn't make sense. 1 second while I type on my bell. What are you doing, bro? Okay, but you get what I mean, right? The odds that we break 50-25 and go lower are slim to none because why? Dealers are not interested in us going lower. You can obviously see it. They're interested in moving the stock higher to 50-50, right? It makes the most sense to get above to stay above 50.25 and bounce there because there is no interest below us. And there's all the interest above us, right? It is so clear. It is clear as fucking day. And especially on a week like this week, when gamma is the strongest, these magnets will pay. Bro, my dog is going off right now. But does that make sense to people? Right? You have zero. The big move of the day was right after the close. Close. Was there a way to predict that using 26 data? I mean, we can check, see what the 26 says. Personally, I wouldn't. I bet you they're sitting low. There's some gamma sitting right at fucking 5100. Can almost guarantee it. DDOI flashing 5100. The biggest bar on DDOI. Biggest bar right here. Same bar. So that's always interesting to see. Good catch, Lick. $50.50 for tomorrow. No, not using, you can't do it utilizing tomorrow's data. The only way you would have potentially caught it is AOI to open was 5100. That's today based though. 50 DDOI is the only way, I think. Like with confidence, you can probably take that. But continuing to watch this forward, let's see. So you can already tell we're meant to bounce at 50.25 and send it higher to 50.50. It just makes the most sense. That's all she wrote for today, right? The rest of it's pretty much gone now that we've bounced at 50.25 and the only level is 50.50. And once we reach there, that was the objective for the trade, right? There's nothing else of interest in my opinion. And objective almost reached. There we go. Reached it right here. So are you guys getting a better gauge? What expirations do you have on delta adjusted? I just use this is ODT. Could I get a raise of hands if you're here from Zach's Discord or like a chat, or like just type something in chat? One hand raise, one clap. Cool. Me. Awesome. Awesome. Okay. Just making sure. I don't want to be like, if people don't really care about learning about the data, then it's pointless for me to send it out, but at least there's some people here. Thank you guys. For those who are here, there's a code. I have to test it out. See if it works. I'm gonna put up my main screen so all my fucking credit card information and shit doesn't pop up. Let me check to see if it works. Right, hold on. Okay. If you guys are the data's, yeah, I mean, people, like I said, people who use it and people versus the people who haven't used it is it's a huge difference in the sense of like once you get onto it, you cannot really trade without it. It's almost like you're fucking butt ass naked in front of the audience and versus fucking at least wearing some clothes, right? It's very different. Okay, so for those from ZM's Discord, this is 20% off your first month. You guys can use that link and sign up. It'll give you 20% off on your first month and you can give it a shot. And with that, not only do you get the data, obviously there's the YouTube channel, there's Liquidos's YouTube channel for reviewing and whatnot. And like I said, it's on there every single day. So you can go there, kind of look back at it at the day And then TraderLink also has a bunch of YouTube videos. TraderLink also goes live every single day. For those who don't know, it's live pretty much, how do I say it? Sorry, you're pretty much, it's usually Geo or me. Lately it's been Geo because I've been working with some other things on the side. But yeah. In the beginning, when you explained how to identify the range for the day, was that was on delta adjusted? So this code, how do I paste it on? 4Z6M. This will give you 20% off your first month. Maybe we'll have a bigger discount. This is the best I could do as of right now. But if we do get a bigger discount, I'll obviously post it. We always do. And yeah, so for the day wise, using the range, I use de-adjusted. Geo has fully convinced me that de-adjusted is better than raw. Look, for those who are here from ZM's Discord, he wouldn't have brought us in if he didn't like us, right? If he didn't believe what we're doing is helpful. So with that being said, take it with a grain of salt. Utilize the data the same way. There's live streams every day from Geo, and Geo is probably one of the smartest people when it comes to trading with said data. He utilizes it very differently. However, at the same time, he understands how to utilize it the same way. I learned from him. So, but with that being said, that's really it for today. There's a lot of classes. So if you're new, you can kind of go to our playlist. There's Mastering the Metrics. This was a mastermind that we ran in the beginning. It's a little outdated as of right now because we have obviously made changes into how we utilize it. But when it comes to the basics of what gamma exposure is, if you don't know what it is the rate of change of an options delta with respect to the underlying movement of the stock. So in this case, SPX, right? For every 1% SPX moves, gamma is the rate of change of the options delta. New here, and this might be a stupid question, but is the most useful SPX? Yes. So for those, once again, right, I understand you guys are new to this. So when it comes to why we use SPX over SPY over QQQ, is because SPX actually takes up 16% or more of the options market cap. So that's why, think of it in relation to like Apple or Nvidia, right? If you go to like the S&P top holdings, right? Microsoft is 7% only, but SPX, excuse me, SPX is 16% of the entirety of the options cap. So just take that into consideration. Apple's 5%, Microsoft 7%, Nvidia 5%, but SPX is 16%. And that's why this moves the market and it tells you where the market is going, right? It's essentially tracking, for those who don't know. It's called dealer positioning. And when it comes to dealer positioning, what do dealers want? They want to remain what's called delta neutral, right? They want their delta of their position to be at a 0, right? So you may be wondering, will the session be uploaded to YouTube? Yes, of course it will. Yeah, I use SPX when trading NQ. I use SPX data when taking QQQ today. It's the same shit. It's just, both indices are going to move relatively in sync, but it's just, why did I take QQQ? I can go over that really quick. Why did I take QQQ instead of SPX this morning, or SPY? Let's take this off. Let's take this off and just have a clean, pretty chart. So on the hourly, I was watching for any sort of sweep of any level, right? You can tell right here, ES swept this, NQ had that same low, so there was some SMT. So I decided to take QQQ instead of SPX. Why? Because at least I'd have a defined stop. And if QQQ went, or NQ went below 286, then I would have closed out. Once again, size for 0. So it's like, it's just mentally, I like taking the opposite one just because of what I've learned as of recently. Yeah, institutions and dealers, they all want to be delta neutral, as Lick just said. It's the whole point of being delta neutral so that they have zero risk and they can make money in between the spread. So wherever the stock goes, they don't really give a shit because they're hedging everything. All right, for example, if dealers, for dealers to remain delta neutral, let's say they pick an option strike with a 0.5 delta, right? A positive 0.5 delta, meaning they are either long a call, long calls, or short puts, right? Because short puts carry positive delta as well. Plus 0.5, right? So in this case, how do you bring the delta back to zero? You have to offset the position by shorting shares, right? The positive delta right here, right? On both these positions is positive. What do they need to do? They need to short shares, right? Short shares, right? Meaning they need to short 50 shares. Why? Because for every dollar that the stock moves, the options contract will appreciate by $50 per share or $50 per point, right? So it goes the same way. $50 if the stock moves $1, they offset the position. And let's say this goes from 0.5 to, let's say, positive 0.4, positive 0.4, right? What do? They have to sell 10 shares, right? So it goes from 40 shares, right? Technically, they have to, sorry. Yeah, they have to offset more by buying more shares, right? So they buy back 10 shares. So that's kind of like the basics of how it works. There's a lot more to it, but this is good enough. I don't want to bombard all the new people with definitely different concepts and whatnot. So, but utilizing the data is very different than trying to understand the data. You can do both, but at the same time, it's not, I'll be honest, it's not completely necessary. So with that being said, it's like going over Liquidos's videos are probably one of the best ways you can kind of watch for those patterns in how price revolves around said market and said movement. Any questions? So when a strike is a negative heavy, sorry. So when a strike is negative heavy, negative gamma, the price will move to it. The exposure is positive. It will repel. Not entirely. There's a super simple concept, technically speaking. If it's positive, it will technically act like SNR, so support or resistance. If it is negative, there is a good chance, negative, that this can act like an accelerant. But that's not always the case, right? Dealers, when you are in a negative gamma environment, all right, for the OGs in here and some of the people who utilize the data, what happens when we're in a negative environment? What are dealers doing? Type in chat. I want to make this interactive. Negative environment equals what? Buy the rips, sell the dips. Exactly. Thank you, Lick. Stefan, thank you. Buying or selling with the move. Perfect. Right. And we're in a negative environment today. If you look at the chart, right, all day we are bidding up. Because technically speaking, Gamma Flip is at 75. So until we hit 75, we're pretty much in a negative environment. Exactly. They're playing with the move. So what are dealers doing? They're continuously bidding this up. They're playing with the institutions to bid this up, right? And when you're in a negative environment, you have higher volatility, less liquidity, right? Positive is vice versa. They are doing the opposite. They are selling the rips, buying the dips, creating chop, right? Creating some sort of accumulation, which means higher liquidity, lower volatility, right? And we always say, if you go to ES, right, so you can see some after hours movement. In a negative environment, what are you more prone to? What are you more prone to? All the time. This is like one of the first classes I ever hosted. Squeezes, exactly. You're more prone to said V-shape recovery, right? So why am I not looking for lower? Number one, we have no interest fucking below 5,000. It doesn't make sense to continuously short. So for those who got fucking bagged on puts, that's because you just didn't know any better. Sorry. You played yourself. Yeah, sorry, SPX. There we go. I just have ES up so you can see that the V shape that we had. But yeah, you are more prone. It doesn't make sense to continuously go short when we're at a whole cycle level. On top of that, the data is literally showing you that there is no interest below, right? Literally 5 minutes into the open. It doesn't make sense. Where are all the interest levels, right? They're all above us. They are all above us, 50-25, 5,000. And as you saw, when we got closer to 50-50 or 50-25, 50-50 picked up. It just doesn't make sense to look for shorts, right? And when we retested 50-25, what happened? There was no interest in 5,000, and there was heavy interest at 50-50. So the odds are you are going to fucking bounce, right? Right? Any other questions? If not, we'll call it there. I think we're pretty much set. I hope, for those who are new to it, thank you for joining in. And I hope hopefully it changes your mind about how to utilize or like whether or not you've been on the fence of signing up, right? It tells you how to utilize it. It's the fucking best. I don't trade without it. I will never trade without it. If I don't have access to it, I will fuck off for the day. Once again, if you missed the code, it is pasted in chat. Give it a shot. If you don't like it, cancel. We don't need your money. But it just changes it. Yeah, if you want to review anything, I highly suggest go back to Liquidose's video, subscribe to his shit, like his shit, because he doesn't have to do it, but he does it anyway. So show him some fucking support. And if thank you. You'll see that these videos or these classes will get repetitive, but once again, for the new people, all the people who don't know me, I drill the same shit over and over again because it works. It is how I utilize it. Not only that, you have to get these basic shits down, or else it's not gonna fucking matter. If you can't even get the basics of how to realize or how to realize when the data changes, how to utilize it, you're not even gonna understand the mechanics behind how it actually works. So please take the time after you sign up, go through Liquidose's video, kind of mark out the levels, right? The basic is the moment the day opens, wait 5 to 10 minutes, 15 minutes, let the data settle, right? Let all the dust settle, then start marking out your levels on your chart. Then you have your range for the day. There's no bullshit when it comes to from me teaching this. Like if there, I only teach shit that I use. At the end of the day, that's how I'm going to use it. That's why I don't get into Voma. We have Liquidos and Fatty and Jay Crispin for that. I don't use Lambda. I barely use Speed, right? I stick to what I know, and this shit is what I know. So with that being said, that's it for today. I'm gonna go get some dinner before the Laker game starts at 7. If you guys enjoyed the class, I don't know, post on Twitter, tag me. That'd be great. Really appreciated. I would love that if you guys could post it on Twitter. If not, no big deal. Some people don't have Twitter. Tag me in Zach's Discord saying that you liked it so we can get more people onto it. It would be awesome for everyone to actually enjoy utilizing the data because it changes the game. So with that being said, thank you guys for tuning in. And as always, keep moving forward. I'll see you guys in the morning tomorrow. Everyone have a great evening.